We've seen so many couples get divorced, and money is quite often a contentious issue.
And I think that there's something to be said about having the best intentions when you go into the relationship to stay together forever. When you get in a relationship, know that sometimes things don't last forever.
That's what we would like to talk about, how to manage your finances within your relationship.
I work with couples all the time. And one of the things that we work on is creating what I call like a money ecosystem, where we create it as a team. You're as a team in this money ecosystem. It doesn't mean that you don't have your separate and they don't have their separate, but they're in it together. Some people are like, no way, I want it 50-50. I pay half the rent or the mortgage. You pay half the groceries. Those kind of conversations are really important to have. And you have to make sure that each person is on the same side.
We have to recognize that when two people get together, it doesn't necessarily mean that they have the same vision for each other or for the relationship. They might not even have the same kind of relationship with money.
More often than not, they don't. It's really, really common for opposites to attract, right?
Absolutely.
So savers and spenders, that's opposite. You're lucky if you both have a very good relationship with money and you can talk about it because there's not a lot of trauma. There's not a lot of history that creates a lot of silence and taboo around money.
And now you've got two people from very different backgrounds with obviously a very different experience with money. This is bound to bring about some degree of conflict, I think. Do you decide on, do you want to keep things separate? Do you want to have joint bank accounts?
I think when we are discussing these kind of things together in a relationship, for me, when I'm talking with Jennifer about it, I need to know what her desires are. And she needs to know what my desires are. Because if I have this idea that everything's 50-50, and she has this desire that I think it's really important for us to respect each other's desires.
We both have a different view of money. We might both have a different relationship to money. And we have to respect that we come from different backgrounds. We also have different vision for our own lives, for our own individual lives. And then we have a vision as a couple. It gets even more tricky when a couple comes together, but one person or both of them might have children from a previous relationship. What do you do then?
And these are conversations that can be really complex. There could be a lot of legal arrangements and agreements that can be put in play. If you have a high net worth, there's ways that you can set your kids up so that if something happens to you, that they'll be taken care of. So often people don't have that financial literacy. They don't know what to choose. Tell me, I'm curious about you. When you have complex relationships and multi-family connections with different like marriages or children, how would you navigate it?
And again, respect for each other is key. Mm-hmm. Respect for the fact someone had a life before they knew you. Money can be so contentious, especially if they're children from a previous marriage. Or one partner wants to keep helping an adult child and the other one says, no, stop, you've got to cut the apron strings. And what about if one person wants to pursue their PhD? Is there an expectation the other's going to support financially that dream? Really attune yourself to what your partner needs for them to feel safe in that relationship. How much transparency do they need before they start to feel safe?
These kind of discussions will happen. It's not like you can premeditate those when you're first in a relationship, but knowing how to communicate and having really strong communication skills in your relationship is key. And when we talk about money and desire, because that's what this is about. We're talking about money, but it's also the way that we fuel our desires. Our desire could be to donate. Our desire could be to want to support our adult child. Those kind of desires need space and air too. They need to be financially funded as well. When we're talking about communication styles, it's similar to the family of origin that we came into, and how do we communicate our needs? Do we allow ourselves to speak our needs? Can we articulate them? Do we feel guilty that we're doing? Do we get resentful if we don't get our needs met? What are our coping mechanisms in the relationship? Money touches everything. Money will touch your relationship. It'll touch how you communicate with the community you live in. As we start to look at money through the lens of desire, we have recognized that it affects everything in our lives.
Let's not forget, money is not about numbers. Money is actually an emotional topic, and it can be a trigger for a lot of people. When you're getting to know someone, talk about money. Yes, you don't want to show your net worth or your bank statement on your first date, but eventually it might be a good idea to talk about money. And I've seen so many couples, even in long-term relationships, who actually hide information from each other that could actually impact the other person, hiding financial decisions they've made that actually have an adverse effect on the other person. This is called financial infidelity.
Whether it's financial infidelity, it could be the overspending that can happen in a relationship when we're not talking about it, and debting that affects the long-term plan of our lives. But even the smallest things around how you could say one thing and your partner may interpret it completely different.
Some things you do might trigger the other person when they were not intended in any way to be a trigger. And be really clear about your beliefs around money. How do you want the relationship to relate or manage the money that's coming in? Because there's two different people, two different ideas about money coming together, and you really need to talk about it.